Hi everyone, welcome to this Facebook live video on how to stay committed to your exercise and rehabilitation program. I've got a couple more minutes until the start, so we'll just wait a few more minutes to see if there's any people who will join, and then I'll try and kick off as close to 6:30 as possible. Okay, I'm a couple minutes early, but that should be absolutely fine. We can get on with today's topic. So, hi everyone, welcome to this Facebook Live where we will be discussing the difficulties of staying committed to your rehabilitation program and the strategies in which may best help us to overcome these difficulties and ultimately allow us to achieve the best outcomes possible following your rehab program. So as a bit of a summary on what lies ahead, we'll be talking a little bit about what adherence is exactly, and its importance and relevance to obviously us as physios and you guys as patients as well. We'll look at ways to structure your program, the importance of kind of goal setting in staying motivated and committed. We'll look at kind of staying positive, just a couple of kind of mental cues that will just help you see your rehab in a different light. As well as the importance of kind of visualizing progress throughout your program. Okay, so without further ado, what is adherence? So adherence can be defined as the extent to which a person's behavior corresponds with the agreed recommendations from a healthcare provider, in this case a physiotherapist or sports therapist. And within physiotherapy, the concept of adherence can relate to the patient's attendance to appointment follow-ups, following advice, performing prescribed exercises, and the frequency in which these exercises are performed. So, how important is adhering to physiotherapy rehabilitation programs? Well, first of all, we know that staying committed to anything, and not just rehabilitation, can be difficult, such as diets, New Year's resolutions, gym programs, you name it, etc. If you are having difficulty staying motivated and committed to your rehabilitation, then best believe you're not alone, that's for sure. Even myself, being a physiotherapist, I often have moments where I don't feel motivated to stick to my exercise routine, or when I get injured, to even stick to my own rehabilitation program. These are completely normal reactions and responses to these new additions into your usual day-to-day lives. In this video, we will talk through a variety of ways where this new change or this new addition can more easily become part of your day-to-day life, and we will also discuss ways to stay motivated throughout your program and achieve what you set out to achieve at the start of your program. Okay, so but before we do, I will now discuss some interesting facts regarding how adherence can affect your rehabilitation outcomes. So a lot of research has been done around adherence and kind of rehabilitation programs, obviously medicinal side of things, but we're going to be focusing on the exercise side of things, obviously. So yeah, it's a widely researched topic area in injury recovery and physiotherapy as a whole. Some research has concluded that non-adherence within treatment and exercise performance could be as high as 50 to 65% for musculoskeletal conditions, and up to 70% in the low back pain population. So these are really, really high numbers, and us as physiotherapists, we really want to see those numbers getting lower and lower, which will mean obviously more effective, quicker rehabilitation, back to returning to your goals a lot quicker. Okay, so high levels of non-adherence to rehab programs can have adverse implications, of course. These can be obviously adverse implications on the cost of the treatment for yourself as an individual and its effectiveness in recovery from injury. Meaning that if achieving an overall reduction in pain or returning to your sport by a certain time was your highlighted goal in the beginning of your program, this will then likely take longer than originally established if poor adherence is the case. Okay, so in saying that, individuals who adhere to their prescribed exercises are significantly better at achieving their established goals and demonstrate a greater increase in physical function, which can not only prolong your rehab journey, greater increase in physical function, which has been noted in many, many studies. So non-adherence to home exercise programs can not only prolong your rehab journey, but it also is seen to increase the likelihood of the injury reoccurring or flaring up. This then halts the entire progress we can make in a session of physiotherapy, and then the completion of the program is somewhat delayed further until this flare-up or this re-injury has settled down in the short term. Okay. Before I go on, I will throughout this video be using myself as an example with regards to rehabilitation following spraining my ankle quite badly 3 to 4 weeks ago. But yeah, just thought I'll throw that in. So what are some common barriers that affect adherence? I'm sure you can think of a couple at yourself that you've said, I've gone to your physio and said, I haven't been good at doing my exercise this week, so on. So some of these kind of common barriers that we notice are simply forgetting to exercise, not having the time to exercise, not fitting into the daily routine, work schedules, and obviously sometimes pain levels from the injury can just be too much. So obviously common among there is just the time. I don't have the time to do these exercises, or work's too busy, or I've got family commitments, and of course, whilst these are all common and somewhat reasonable barriers to have not performed the exercises, these can be overcome through a number of very small but effective strategies which look to increase the commitment to your rehabilitation. Now, I'm not instilling that if you implement one or two of these that you are automatically going to be the most adherent person to your program or your gym routine or your diet or whatever it is, but these are strategies which have worked for me personally and are also known psychologically to improve the way you perceive your rehabilitation or your exercise. Okay, so firstly, if you find yourself not having the time to exercise or perform the prescribed program, try structuring your program in a visual form which fits into your busy schedule. For example, breaking up both the rehab program itself into certain exercises and breaking up your schedule and identifying periods of time where performing one or two of these exercises can be achieved. This can look something like 2 exercises in the morning before getting ready for work, 2 exercises in your lunch break or during small work breaks, and 2 exercises in the evening after work. We as physiotherapists and sports therapists do not expect you to complete the entire program in one go during the day. If you can, brilliant, that's great. But splitting up the program into various parts and performing them at different parts of the day is also an option, obviously unless specified otherwise by your therapist, and they may have their own reasons for this. Most of the prescribed exercises are ones that can be performed in the comfort of your own home with little or no equipment, and generally each exercise can last no longer than 5 minutes. Again, there are some exceptions to this. So, another way in which I believe helps staying motivated to the program is using 3 W's: when, what, and why, to help structure the program. Okay, so identifying when you are doing your next session or your exercises, this will allow for some preparation time. What exercises you're doing and visualize yourself doing them, and why you are doing these specific exercises. Link it in towards a goal that you may have set yourself. And this additionally helps you understand your injury and why these certain exercises are helping in the ways that they may do. Okay, so for example, I have some exercises that I need to perform as part of my ankle rehabilitation, but I know I have a busy Monday at work today with few breaks in the day. Having looked at my schedule and breaking it up, I have found that I have 5 to 10 minutes before I need to leave to work, to go to work, in which I can perform at least 2 of my 5 prescribed exercises. Okay, these being balancing single leg and also some ankle range of movement exercises. These I know will help strengthen the ligaments of the ankle and reduce the likelihood of the injury happening again, and will also keep my ankle from getting stiff and painful. So I now know when I'm going to do these exercises. I also know what exercises I'm going to do, and I've also pictured myself doing them at home before work. And finally, I have reminded myself of why I'm doing them and why it's important for me to do these to achieve my goal. This personally keeps me motivated to complete them, and then returning to my diary, I then tick these off my to-do list, and that feels like a great accomplishment in itself for me. Okay, moving on to goal setting. So we've spoken a lot already about achieving your rehabilitation goals and staying motivated and staying on track to achieve these. Let's talk a bit about setting smaller goals within your overall goal. Okay, so setting smaller goals within your overall goal allows you to accomplish smaller tasks and become more confident in doing so. Once you achieve more and more of these little smaller goals, your end goal, which you thought may have been so distant away from you, becomes closer and closer and more achievable by the day. So doing these, so kind of completing these or setting these small little goals inside your big kind of end goal, will allow you to stay on track in achieving your overall goal. And you can also create these smaller goals and see them as kind of stepping stones towards your end goal. For example, I have an end goal of to be able to return to 5-a-side football in 6 weeks' time with no pain. At this current moment, I know that I am unable to stand controllably on my affected leg for 30 seconds due to the instability and lack of confidence I have in doing so. In the first few weeks of my rehab, I then may have a smaller goal each week which targets my ability to control my single leg balance. In week 1, say I want to achieve 30 seconds of a controllable single leg balance. In week 2, I then want to achieve 45 seconds, and so on and so on. Now this can be the same goal progression each week as I have done, or it can be a completely different but relative goal each week. So this will A, keep me motivated to achieve these smaller goals. B, will allow me to stay on track with my exercises until the end of the program. And C, I feel very good about myself when I achieve each weekly goal. And additionally, I have so much confidence in completing my next weekly goal. So you want to set smaller weekly or even daily goals that are specific to your end goal and you know will contribute to the achievement of your end goal. They need to be measurable, which means you can identify easily if it has been achieved or not achieved. They need to be achievable and realistic. I am not going to set a goal of running a 5K when I cannot stand on one leg controllably for 30 seconds without pain. And when you create a kind of to-do list and you tick something off, does it not feel good? Is it just me? I feel really good after ticking something off a to-do list. Does it not feel like you've achieved something and make you want to continue this productivity and continue this progression? These smaller goals can be exactly the same. Be competitive with yourself to accomplish these smaller goals, and it will without a doubt keep you positive throughout your rehab journey. So what are some other ways, I mentioned there keeping positive, what are some other ways to keep positive during your rehab program? Sorry. So, yeah, what are some other ways to keep positive during your rehab program? I don't want this to sound like some motivational speech that will change your life forever, but these small little changes or adaptations can be made which will allow you to have a more positive outlook on your rehabilitation journey. So adopting a positive mindset in everyday life and not just focus onto your exercise or your rehab can have a huge effect on the way that you perceive things. So believing in yourself, having a can-do attitude is immensely helpful in anything that life can throw at you, and the way in which you believe your ability to achieve something. Constant reminders of why you're doing something, and if you do this thing, what will this then allow you to do, and so on. Okay, so another way I believe which helps me stay motivated and in fact makes me excited for my next exercise session is visualizing my progress. Okay, so allow yourself to see the improvements that you are making each week, whether it's recording the exercises you're doing with the weight that you're doing, or whether it is simply telling other people, such as your friends or family, that you managed to do something today that you were nowhere near capable of doing 2 weeks ago. I always believe that progress has little value if you are not making yourself aware of the progress you're making. And this can be related to anything in life and not just exercise and strength progressions. And finally, one thing that will always help you get over the potentially negative mindset around exercise and rehabilitation is making your own exercise fun and enjoyable. You know, if you like competition like I do, I'm very competitive, exercise with a partner or a relative and treat it as a challenge to overcome together. This massively increases your motivation to achieve these smaller goals and your end goal, like I previously said. And if you know what motivates you as an individual, implement this into your exercise program. For me, it's being competitive, as I've just mentioned. If there's something I need to beat or someone I need to beat, best believe I will be doing all I can to come out on top. Okay. Don't look at your rehab as an obstacle. Look at it as an opportunity or a stepping stone that as you accomplish each one and go to the next one and go to the next one, you're that much closer to achieving your end goal. Okay. So we've gone through most of the stuff there with regards to kind of keeping positive throughout your rehabilitation programs and just little mindsets that can help kind of change or flick a little switch in our heads that, you know, we see it as not as a task, not as I've got to do this, I've got that to do, but as something that allows you to progress and get to where you want to be in the future. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to post them on the comment section below. But all in all, thank you very much for listening, and I hope this has provided some value to you all. And as I mentioned, any questions or comments on what I've discussed, please feel free to leave the comments below, and I'll happily get around to replying to these when I can. Have a great evening and give these strategies a go this week if you're struggling to stay committed to your program. Have a good evening.